You can always tell when someone has been marked by fire, not by the volume of their voice, not by how many scriptures they can recite, but by what shifts when they walk into the room. In the unseen realm, not all believers carry the same weight. Some barely flicker, others ignite the very air around them. And when you carry spiritual fire, even demons know it before you open your mouth. They recognize the frequency. They recoil at the heat. Because spiritual fire is not symbolic, it's real, and it burns everything that cannot stand in the presence of God. Revelation 3:15 isn't a gentle invitation. It's a divine diagnosis. I wish you were either hot or cold, Jesus said. That means in the spirit, neutrality doesn't exist. You're either burning or frozen. There is no safe in between. Matthew 3:11 tells us that we were not only meant to be baptized with water, but with the Holy Spirit and fire. John the Baptist made it clear. This walk was never meant to be lukewarm. Fire is the language of heaven. And when it dwells in you, the world around you has no choice but to respond. The first sign that fire lives in your bones is the way darkness reacts to your presence. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't need to preach. You don't even need to speak. The moment you step into a space, the atmosphere shifts. Conversations start to die out. Laughter fades. Something unseen but undeniable enters the room, and people feel it. Some feel convicted. Others feel irritated. But none remain indifferent. Why? Because spiritual fire exposes what's been hiding in the shadows. You've walked into places where silence fell like a curtain. People glanced away. Some left the room altogether. Not because you said anything, but because the light in you triggered a war in them. You are not the conflict. You are the confrontation. The presence you carry confronts what others have spent years avoiding. You walk in alignment with the Spirit of God, and that alignment disorients what's out of order. It's not about pride. It's about purity, and purity provokes. Some people will whisper about you. Others will mock you. But don't be deceived. This is not rejection. It's recognition. Their spirits recognize yours, and the fire inside you forces their masks to tremble. That's why some people attack you without cause. That's why gossip follows you like a shadow. It's not personal, it's spiritual. And if you react in the flesh, you risk dimming what heaven ignited in you. Their irritation is not a sign for you to retreat. It's a sign for you to burn brighter. 1 John 1-5 says, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. When his essence abides in you, everything that doesn't belong begins to flee. You become a living, breathing contradiction to the kingdom of darkness. Your life, your presence, your silence, it all becomes a confrontation. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to justify the fire. Let it speak for you. Let it blaze through you. Let it do what it was born to do: consume. Darkness doesn't argue with fire. It doesn't negotiate. It flees. That's why the enemy doesn't want you to realize who you are. He wants you to tone it down, to blend in, to stay silent. But you weren't created to be tolerable. You were designed to be transformational. When the fire is real, it cannot be hidden. And it will always draw attention, both divine and demonic. So the next time you walk into a space and notice the atmosphere shift, don't shrink. Stand. That silence, that tension, that unease, it's confirmation. It's proof that you're no longer walking in your own strength. You are hosting something holy, something heavy, something heaven recognizes and hell fears. Stay close, because in the next part, we'll reveal what happens when that fire starts to speak through your prayers, and why the enemy cannot withstand a believer who is not only filled but ignited. There's something different about the way fire carriers pray. Their words aren't cool and calculated. They're not reciting lifeless phrases into the air. Their prayers come boiling from within, not whispered, but forged like metal in a furnace. The Greek word zeo, used to describe fervent prayer, literally means to boil with heat. That's not poetic. That's spiritual physics. The kind of prayer that scorches through the atmosphere and ascends with urgency. These prayers are not made in comfort. They are birthed from agony, devotion, and unrelenting hunger for heaven's will. When you carry divine fire, you don't treat prayer as a ritual. It becomes your oxygen. It becomes your weapon. It becomes your lifeline. You don't pray because things are falling apart. You pray because it's your natural state. Your soul bends toward God, even in silence. You talk with Him while walking, while weeping, while breathing. That's what it means to burn. There is no pretense in a fire-branded prayer. You aren't trying to impress anyone. You're not looking for eloquence. You're speaking directly from a place of intimacy, raw, honest, and holy. These prayers don't echo off the ceiling. They pierce through realms. Because you're not just speaking to God, you're aligning with Him. You're carrying His presence in your bones and letting that heat translate into words. Words that cause movement in the heavens and panic in hell. Prayers without fire are simply noise, religious clutter, hollow sound. But when fire is involved, even the gates of hell begin to shake. And that leads us to something few speak about. When you carry spiritual fire, you also carry spiritual resistance. The more brightly you burn, the more you attract the adversary's attention. Demons don't chase shadows, they chase flames. And the brighter you burn, the more they try to put you out. But don't be discouraged. The warfare is not proof of failure, it's confirmation of impact. Ephesians 6:12 makes it clear that our struggle isn't against flesh and blood. You're not just battling people or problems. You are contending against ancient structures of darkness that tremble when you wake up in the morning. You feel it in your finances. You feel it in your relationships. You feel it in your mental battles. But instead of breaking you, these battles become the very furnace that tempers your fire. Every challenge is sharpening you. Every storm is proving you. And while others collapse under pressure, those with fire become more dangerous when pressed. Because the flames in you don't die in battle, they multiply. The attacks that were meant to destroy you end up validating your assignment. That's how spiritual fire works. It thrives in adversity. And this fire doesn't just affect the unseen. It alters human hearts too. You'll begin to notice something strange. People are never neutral about you. Some will feel an unexplainable pull toward you. They'll crave your presence, not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. They'll feel peace, clarity, conviction. They'll open their hearts without knowing why, because something in you radiates heaven. But others will avoid you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because their spirit senses the cost of being near truth. You become a mirror they don't want to look into. Your presence exposes what they've buried. And exposure always comes with resistance. It happened to Jesus. In Luke 4, he went from teaching in the synagogue to nearly being thrown off a cliff. Not because he shouted, not because he condemned, but because his presence illuminated too much too quickly. The same will happen to you. Those living in the dark will often confuse light for judgment. They'll misinterpret your presence as pride. They'll resist not you, but the fire that exposes what they're not ready to face. And that's okay, because your assignment was never to be accepted. It was to carry fire, to burn for the one who baptized you, not only with spirit, but with heat. So don't chase approval. Don't water down your fire to make others comfortable. If people draw near, welcome them. If they walk away, bless them. Because both reactions are signs that something holy is happening through you. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll uncover the fifth and final sign that you are a true fire carrier. It's not what you think. And it will explain why your wilderness season was never about isolation. It was about preparation. Don't let it wound you. When people withdraw, when they reject you or twist your passion into something to mock, don't take it as a personal failure. It was never about your personality. It's about the conflict between what you carry and what they're protecting. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply reveals it. And when that happens, some souls are stirred to transformation. Others retreat into the shadows. Not everyone is ready to burn. You'll all know you carry spiritual fire when even fellow believers, those who claim to walk the same road, begin to squirm around your fervor. Lukewarm faith always feels threatened by the flame. You become a reminder of what they've silenced within themselves. But fire doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. It consumes. And the fifth sign, perhaps the most undeniable of all, is that the supernatural no longer surprises you. It walks with you. This isn't about rare, dramatic events. Fire carriers live in a frequency where heaven interferes constantly. Miracles aren't interruptions. They're confirmations. God doesn't work through them because they re-worthy. He moves through them because they re-willing. They've surrendered so completely that they've become transparent vessels for divine power. As Jesus declared in Mark 16:17, "These signs shall follow them that believe, not might follow, not sometimes follow, shall." Deliverance becomes familiar. Healing is no longer a distant hope. They lay hands on the sick, and recovery begins, not always instantly, not always dramatically, but undeniably. Doors open. Chains fall. Even weather shifts when they speak with authority, because they understand something crucial. They are not the source. They are simply the wire that carries the current, and they have cleared their lives of insulation. The miracles that trail behind them are not trophies. They're not performance. They're simply the residue of closeness with God. Fire carriers don't chase signs. They chase presence. And the signs follow them as proof that God is near. When you burn with divine fire, supernatural results are not the goal. They are the consequence. And that distinction changes everything. But hear this clearly. This fire cannot be mimicked. It cannot be performed into existence. Loud worship doesn't guarantee it. Emotional hype doesn't sustain it. It is born in surrender, in secret places, in long nights of prayer and trembling obedience. It begins when you give God not just your Sundays, but your schedule. Not just your dreams, but your will. When you lay down control and say, "Your fire, not mine," it is there, in that broken yielding, that fire begins to kindle. Slowly at first, a flicker, a whisper, then a steady burn. And over time, that fire takes over everything. It alters how you think. It changes your appetite. It refuses to coexist with sin. It makes you uncomfortable in compromise. It calls you higher, deeper, truer. And wherever you go, the evidence of that fire is undeniable. So if as you've listened, your spirit whispered, "That's me," then protect that flame. Don't let religion tame it. Don't let culture water it down. Don't let fatigue or fear convince you it's too much. Stoke it with scripture. Feed it with worship. Guard it with silence. And remember, you weren't set on fire to be hidden. You were lit to be seen. The world is not in need of more polite believers. It's crying out for those who burn. But if you don't yet see these signs in your life, don't turn away in shame. Turn inward, turn upward. Because God is not in the business of shaming. He is in the business of awakening. Cry out not with rehearsed words, but with real hunger. Ask Him to baptize you again, not just with spirit, but with flame. Ask for holy passion that cannot be quenched, for a fire that will disrupt your normal, that will make you holy again. This is your invitation, not to become loud, not to perform, but to surrender, to stop settling for a safe Christianity and step into the dangerous, radiant life of a believer who burns. Your life is not ordinary, not when God's fire rests upon you. So whether you've burned before and grown cold, or whether this is your first time longing for more, He's ready. The fire has never stopped burning. You only have to lean closer. And if your heart is whispering yes, then say it out loud. Say it with your whole life. Light the altar. Offer the sacrifice. And let heaven see, this one is ready to burn again. Thank you for watching. If this message stirred something in you, subscribe to our channel and join this movement of burning ones. We are not here to blend in. We are here to set the world on fire.